Made it worse is that few weeks after we arrived was a COVID lockdown. Like, maybe Canada is just not for us.
The untold stories of Filipino expats, a glimpse into the lives of overseas Filipino workers. Many of you have been asking for this. Today, and in the upcoming videos, we're bringing you something truly special. Real-life stories of Filipino heroes making their mark abroad. These are the inspiring journeys of our overseas Filipino workers, OFWs, who've not only succeeded but continue to thrive across the globe. Today, we dive into one of the most compelling stories yet. The Filipino community in Canada has been growing, with many Filipinos building new lives in a place that's drastically different from the warm shores of the Philippines. From harsh winters to navigating a completely new culture, adjusting to life in Canada isn't easy. But against all odds, Filipinos are making waves, carving out success and finding opportunities they never thought possible. In today's video, we're featuring the story of Ben, an IT professional who moved to Canada during the pandemic with nothing but a dream. No family, no friends, just a vision of a better future. So, how did he conquer the struggles of extreme cold, cultural differences, and the emotional toll of being away from home? Stick around as we uncover his remarkable story of struggle, resilience, and ultimate success. But before we dive in, don't forget to subscribe and hit that notification bell so you never miss an inspiring story, like Ben's real-life tales of Filipinos making a difference abroad. Let's jump in and hear about this incredible journey. To start off, how long have you been in Canada and what led you to make the move here? Was there a specific event or moment that influenced your decision?
Since 2019, I was offered a training opportunity from my previous companies. They're a global company and they have the sister branch, I would say, here in Canada. And then they said that there's an opportunity here for you and are you willing to be trained? I was trained for 6 months, but I was in and out of Canada. And then later on, I thought I liked it here. I wanted to explore some new things. End of my training, I guess they liked me, or how I performed, so they offered me a permanent job. I talked to my wife, and then we decided, yeah, let's take the opportunity, and then we'll just see. We were thinking maybe let's just try maybe 1 or 2 years, and let's see how it goes.
Moving to a new country is a huge step. What are 2 challenges you wish people knew about when it comes to settling into life in Canada?
Yeah, transition with the weather and the environment. If you think about it, time zone alone, with 12 hours, 13 hours difference from Philippines. So day and night. And then the weather, it's really different. And the environment, we were used to being surrounded by crowds and noise. But if you come here in Canada, it's so quiet. You're close to your neighbor, but you're not talking with your neighbor like how you used to talk back home, right, in the Philippines. That's one of the adjustments that we made. Like myself and my wife thought Canada may not be for us. It's so quiet. It's totally different from what we're used to back home. Majority of us will experience the same way. The weather is also too cold. You cannot go outside, so you'll feel more lonely. You feel isolated. Advice for future newcomers, be prepared that this is the environment in Canada. It may look beautiful in photos and videos, but once you come here, reality in life hits you. It's different. The fact na malayo ka sa family mo and your loved ones. Be prepared not just financially and mentally, but also emotionally.
We've all heard about the rise in homelessness and the struggles many face with finding jobs and affordable housing, especially for newcomers. Many Filipinos, like others, come on student visas and face these challenges right away. Even with a job in hand, adjusting to a new country is never easy. Was there anything in particular, like finding a place to live, dealing with the weather, or adjusting to the culture, that you found tough during your first few months here?
Most of the Filipinos who come here are either students or they were invited agency or something like that, right?
Mentally, how did you cope with the transition? What was the toughest mental challenge you faced? And how did you work through it?
We arrived during winter. And then that was January because we're not used to the cold. Didn't have the proper gear at that time. Made it worse is that few weeks after we arrived was a COVID lockdown. My wife and I were talking, during that period, like maybe Canada isn't for us, just not for us, right? Maybe after 2 years we'll go home. I guess what helped us get through that was just being there for each other. If my wife needs someone to talk to, I'm always there. And if I need to speak up and say something that what I feel, I talk to my wife. And the social media platform was very helpful as well, in a sense that we can talk to our family, not the negative stuff, but in a sense that we can communicate with our family back home. And it was really helpful. One of the things that convinced me to stay here was our family keeps on saying that if that's how you feel there in Canada, it's much worse if you go back home. So like, okay, I'll just stay here. We'll work things out.
Looking at your financial journey, do you feel the decision to move to Canada has been worth it?
My wife and myself, we didn't really have that expectation. We'll get rich when we get here. What we're looking for was a different kind of experience. Basically grabbing the opportunity was presented to us and just gave it a try and see if it can improve our lives and if it can make us comfortable, like it can help us with our goals. I am working on a job that pays decently, one of the major factor. Back in the Philippines, before we went here, I was also working in the IT industry, and my wife also has a small business. We're not well off back home, but we're comfortable. When the opportunity here in Canada was presented to us, we were not thinking of more wealth. In terms of financial status, there's a huge gap with expenses din naman. So yung cost of living and other stuff, so it has to compensate, right? Investment siguro na ginawa namin is because we realized that we had more income, was that we immediately thought of a plan how to utilize that income to basically make it grow.
In your experience, what cultural differences have you noticed that might make it harder for Filipino employees to adjust to life here?
So Canada is like a mixed culture, right? There are different people coming in here, different immigrants from different countries. There are some cultures that they don't want you to overstep on their roles. And as Filipinos, you put effort so that the other person won't be burdened or uncomfortable. That tendency, because it's part of our culture that we serve, to give, we want to provide, and we want to feel the other person uncomfortable. We may not notice that when we start working here, that we are stepping on other people's role, and they don't want that in some culture. So that's probably one of the things that you have to keep in mind. The waters first. Just feel the vibes. If you think that this person is already aware of how Filipinos do stuff. For Filipinos, we're not choosy. I would say choosy, the choosy word in terms of jobs. Whatever comes in our table, we work on it. Right? Whatever the boss gives to us, we work on it without questions, without complaints. That's our mentality. Because we are used to that. If the task is somewhat easy and straightforward, we sometimes overstep. Like we do something beyond what was asked for. And in doing that, we overstep on other people's role. So I think that's one of the things that I noticed.
What would you recommend to newcomers on what they should focus on to succeed?
The first one is financial. You may be rich back home, but that rich, when you come here, man, it's flat, all equal when you come here. You may be a millionaire back home, but that million, it won't last. So financial, you have to be prepared. If you depend in your savings, mauubos talaga yung savings. Prepare financially, know where you are going, which province, and learn how much is the cost of living, and prepare. Like for how many months do you think your savings would last? And then by that time, you should have your own extra income. So the first problem is financial. You think that you have enough money, but you come here, you realize that, oh, the cost of living, it's too damn expensive, depending on the city, right? But everywhere in Canada, it's already expensive. House, number one, house rent. It eats the biggest chunk in our income, the house rent. You won't be owning a house when you first come here, right? So you will be renting. The second problem is finding a job. When you come here, you have your savings, a lot of savings. You have a lot of money. Then you realize 2 months later, 3 months later, you have submitted 500 resumes, no one calls back. 6 months later, you submitted 1,000 resumes, no one calls back. Because there's no job. But there's a lot of competition. Like, maraming applicants din. It's not only you. There's a lot of people already here who are jobless. And not just jobless. Some people end up being homeless. So I'm not discouraging people. You can continue with your dream, right? Whatever you want to do, whatever your goals are, do your best to achieve those, but they heads up, right? To make you prepared of what's coming.
Being in a new country can put a strain on relationships. How have you and your partner managed to stay strong and maintain a healthy relationship while adjusting to life here? Any advice for couples starting their lives in Canada?
Or some couples, they were very busy individually. They have their own kind of busy things that they're doing. This advice that I'm saying is the same advice that our ninong and ninangs gave to us when we were married. Hold a couple because you work things together. Right? That's why you're called a couple. It's not like one person's goal, another person had a different goal. You have to have one goal. Good thing about us with Grace is that we have this common goal, and we know where we are going. So that's why we do stuff together. We plan things on how to reach that goal. So even if we are busy, we know what the other person was doing. We know what it is for. So that's where the trust comes in. I know what he's doing. That's why he's busy. I know what she is doing. That's why she's busy. And after work, we always spend time away or outside our house, or maybe during the weekend if the week is really busy. Always spend some time outside the things that makes us busy. We try to find time to unwind, and unwinding makes you connect together as a couple in a personal level. I think that's the secret, especially during the pandemic. I think that's one of the things that I mentioned, right? Always talk. It's communication. It's always the key. I think for all couples, it's always the key, communication. So if someone feels lonely or someone needs to express his or her emotion, the other one should listen. Your other half should be your best friend. Your partners, you're working together. That's why. Foundation is also important. If you have strong foundation as a couple before you get married or before you move to another place, that foundation is your like stronghold. Whatever happens, you've been through a lot already, so you can get through whatever comes next.
Now that you've been here for a while, what qualities or skills do you think someone should have to survive and even thrive here in Canada?
The first two is natural na for us Filipinos. First one is resiliency. Resilient talaga. Before you get to resiliency, I guess you have to identify your goals first. When you identify your goal, you have a reason why you're doing things, right? Know where you want to go so that you know where you're going. I think if that makes sense. If you have a goal, you know you have a reason, right, to be resilient. Your goal coming here in Canada is to settle, build your future here in Canada. If that's your ultimate goal, you will be resilient. Whatever comes to you, whatever challenges comes to you, you will get through it because Filipinos are naturally resilient, and we will find things to get around whatever challenges we have. Second is determination. Determination is the key to success. So if you're determined to achieve your goals, again, is to identify what is your goal. Is staying here can help you achieve your goal. So if you identify that, it won't be messy for you moving forward. And then the last thing, in terms of financial stuff, because Filipinos normally, when you come here, our friends and relatives back home thinks that you're rich. It's like, oh, you're earning dollar. Can you sponsor this? Sponsor that? Can you help me with this? Can you help me with that? You're earning dollars. One of the secrets that we made with my wife is that we stayed low key in social media. Never. I mean, we post stuff, but not really active, because that's where people think that, oh, this guy is going somewhere. Maybe he has some money. Let me ask him if he can lend me some. And that's one thing. And the other thing is be frugal because your time here in Canada may not be, if you're not a permanent resident yet, right? You don't have control over how long you can stay here. So the money that you save, keep it for your future. Don't spend it on things that for short term. That's what worked for us, being frugal. Before we bought the car, we even debating if we really need a car. So that kind of mentality will help you. So when you arrive here in Canada, you don't force yourself to adapt immediately of how things or how people work or how people live their lives, because you will see like, oh, this guy already has a car, or oh, this guy also already has an iPhone. I should probably buy an iPhone. But you don't have to match your tempo with the people who are already here for a long time. So um, just build yourself, take time, and that's what also made us where we are right now, because we try to keep things under what we have
How
planned.
can non-Filipino colleagues and employers make this transition easier for them?
Base this on the one that I mentioned previously about overstepping someone's role. So Filipinos are generally hardworking. So we always go beyond what is asked from us. Times other cultures will think of that as, you're doing too much and making me look like useless. Part of our culture as Filipinos. If other people or other cultures are aware of that, they can adjust. I think one of the ways to address that kind of situation, or if you, hey, looks like this guy is overstepping me, just approach the Filipino colleague and be open. For us Filipinos, if someone new to us looks approachable, he can say things to me openly and I listen to him and I can be open to him as well. If you say that I know you're doing your best, I know you're doing your job, but things here doesn't work that way, can you probably lower or tone things down, something like that. Filipinos listen, right? We do listen. It's part of our culture and we adjust. We're willing to adjust. It's Filipinos have this mentality that they can adapt to anything. We can fit into anything, and we are generally friendly people. Or for colleagues that are non-Filipinos, don't take it as a offense or an insult when a Filipino is doing too much. It's just part of us. Things through, you can always approach a Filipino colleague, talk to them, and they will for sure listen. And you may become friends if you're open to each other, for sure.
Thank you so much, Ben, for generously sharing your story. Ben's journey is a powerful reminder that with determination, technical skills, and a positive mindset, challenges can be transformed into opportunities. Despite facing the cold weather, quarantine restrictions, and being far from family, he embraced every step of his journey and made it his own. Ben's story is just one of many inspiring tales from our vibrant Filipino community around the world. For anyone considering moving to Canada or another country, remember, it's not always easy, but with a clear goal, a growth mindset like Ben's, hard work, and persistence, you can make it happen. That said, don't make the decision to move to a new country as an escape from life's challenges. Relocating to Canada is a big decision, and with the growing number of homeless people and an influx of individuals coming on student visas hoping for better opportunities, it's important to approach the move with a well-thought-out plan to avoid falling into these traps. What makes Ben's story so inspiring is his resilience. He didn't let the tough times define him. When loneliness and doubt crept in, he kept going. Through every setback, he never gave up. He didn't just survive in Canada, he truly thrived. Ben became involved in the Filipino community, participating in cultural events and even mentoring new immigrants. He found a sense of belonging. With his determination, he not only built a career but also a life. His story is one of growth, community, and success. His journey didn't just end with his professional achievements. He now gives back to the very community that supported him, sharing his story with others who are facing the same struggles. He became an inspiration to fellow Filipinos, showing them that no matter how difficult the road may be, success is possible. We hope Ben's story has inspired you. If you're an OFW or planning to move abroad, remember that while the journey may be tough, the rewards can be extraordinary. Keep pushing forward, And like Ben, you too can overcome any challenge. Don't forget to subscribe for more incredible stories from Filipinos making a difference around the world. Share your thoughts and experiences in the comments below. Have you faced challenges while adjusting to life abroad? What did you learn from it? Thanks for watching.
Don't forget to subscribe, like, and leave a comment with your thoughts. And of course, let us know what topic you'd love us to cover next.